It began quietly, almost imperceptibly, in the ashes of the First World War, where nations tried to piece themselves together. Germany, defeated and humiliated, was burdened by reparations so crushing that its people began to lose faith in their future. The Treaty of Versailles wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a wound that festered, feeding anger and desperation. In this fertile soil of discontent, men like Adolf Hitler rose to power. He spoke not of peace, but of revenge, of a destiny for his nation that would rise above its oppressors. His words, poisoned, persuasive, were the sparks that ignited a firestorm. Across the world, others played their part. In Italy, Mussolini dreamt of empire. In Japan, militarists sought to conquer neighbors and seize resources. And the world, weary from the last great war, looked away, hoping the flames would die out on their own. They didn't. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Britain and France declared war, but the fury of Hitler's armies was unstoppable. Tanks rolled through Europe with a ferocity that seemed otherworldly. City after city fell, while millions of innocent lives were caught in the crossfire. Soon, the war stretched across continents, from the deserts of North Africa to the islands of the Pacific. Entire nations became battlefields. And then, the unthinkable happened. The Nazi regime, in its madness, orchestrated the Holocaust, a systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, along with countless others deemed undesirable. These were fathers, mothers, children, each life a universe snuffed out in gas chambers and mass graves. The world's failure to see, to act, to believe it could happen, this was a stain that would never wash away. In Asia, the horrors were no less grim. Japan's conquests brought death and destruction to millions, from Nanjing's massacre to the forced labor camps that consumed lives like fuel. The cost of this war wasn't just counted in the dead, it was in the cities reduced to rubble, the families torn apart, and the generations left to rebuild. But even in the darkest hour, there was hope. Across the globe, people stood up. Soldiers stormed beaches, farmers grew food for the hungry, and communities sheltered strangers. The Allied forces, united by necessity and belief, fought back. Slowly, painstakingly, they turned the tide. The war ended in Europe with the fall of Berlin in 1945. In the Pacific, it took the unimaginable, a new weapon, the atomic bomb, to force Japan's surrender. Hiroshima and Nagasaki became grim markers of human ingenuity and human destruction. When the dust settled, the world was left with a haunting question. How did we let this happen? The answer lies in the mistakes we made. We punished rather than reconciled after the First World War. We allowed economic despair to fester without intervention. We turned away from signs of aggression, thinking it wasn't our fight. We let fear, complacency, and denial blind us to the suffering of others. But the human spirit is resilient. After the war, nations came together to ask, how can we prevent this? The United Nations was born, a fragile hope for global cooperation. Treaties were crafted with a new understanding. Fairness, not punishment, breeds peace. Economies began to intertwine so deeply that war between trading partners became unthinkable. And perhaps most importantly, we vowed to never forget the cost of hatred left unchecked. Today, we live in a different world, but echoes of the past still whisper. Tensions rise, conflicts simmer, and divisions threaten to pull us apart. Yet, the lessons of World War II remind us of the power to choose a better path. We can invest in dialogue to prevent disagreements from spiraling into devastation. We can stand firm against extremism, speaking out against hatred before it grows. And we can build a world where prosperity is shared, leaving no one so desperate that war feels like an answer. World War II is not just history, it's a reminder. Let us honor those who lived, died, and rebuilt by choosing courage, compassion, and unity against today's challenges.